And the news today, Colin Beattie, the party treasurer of the SNP, has been arrested and he's being treated as a suspect in the probe into party funds after £600,000 for a second referendum somehow disappeared. It follows the arrest of the party chief executive, husband of Nicola Sturgeon, Peter Morrell, who was released 11 hours later. So no one accused out there in public of anything specific or public now, but on goes this investigation. And Kate Ferguson, you look at this and you have to put the point, things could hardly get worse for the SNP, except the answer is that it could, and much worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty astonishing, isn't it? I think we thought that that London politics was all a bit of a basket case, but it seems to all be kicking off in Scotland. I've got a copy of the London Evening Standard here with me, and it splashes on Scottish politics, which shows you it's a big day in SNP. Yeah, I mean, I think that it seems that rumours are awash in Scotland about who's going to be arrested next. You've had Peter Morrell arrested, you've had the Treasurer today, you've had the new leader who's trying to kickstart his leadership by announcing all this new policy, and Holyrood having to go this astonishing kind of impromptu press conference with that huddle, the video of which has sort of gone viral, where he says, well, yeah, I am surprised my colleague's been arrested. Yeah, I will try and have a word with him later. You know, just the astonishment written large all over his face. Oh. And, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because just a month ago, it felt like this SNP were this rock-solid, one-party state in Scotland. We were talking about how powerful and what an adept politician Sturgeon was. We were all shocked when she suddenly stepped down, and now it seems to be unravelling just so quickly.
Yeah, and Rachel, I mean, it is, as Kate says, such a contrast. The apparent strength of the SNP so comparatively recently, and look at them now. Except the two things are in many ways intertwined. A party that is, in unchallenged power for so long, stuff goes wrong, and when it goes wrong quite dramatically.
Oh, actually, I think it's more than that. I think that what we've learned in the last couple of months, since Nicola Sturgeon announced that she was standing down anyway, is how much was going wrong and how many fractures there were, both in terms of internal politics within the party and also, by the looks of things, some accounting issues as well. It's just that Nicola Sturgeon and her team were able to present this very, very rock-solid united front and to kind of hide all of that. So it's almost as if the show of strength was what was enabling everything to fall apart beneath the surface.
Yes.
And now we're seeing it now. I want to read out a tweet from the journalist Marie Leconte, who writes for us sometimes, just because she goes, do we think that Humza Yousaf has at any point while alone quietly pinched himself just to make sure that he isn't having an anxiety nightmare? And that is really how it feels. It could not be a worse start for him. And Kate sort of pointed out some of the bizarre things he said in that impromptu press conference. I think he also said, no, I don't think the SNP is behaving like a criminal organisation, which is not the kind of thing that you should have to really articulate, is it?
Never repeat the question.
Never, because that's sometimes why we ask the question, just in case it gets repeated. And Peter, how does this look to you from here, looking at what's going on in Scotland? There's a kind of an affinity between Scotland and Northern Ireland in many ways. Does that story make many waves with you?
Referendums and border polls and all of those, there's affinity. But I suppose the thing that stands out to me, John, is that anyone who, when they want power, criticises those that are in power, but then it turns into Animal Farm with a 4 leg good and 2 legs bad, and then suddenly it's all just repeated, and actually you find out that no matter what your makeup, that everybody's got some sort of dirty linen and dirty washing. Yeah,
I mean, Kate, who's the big winner from this? And this has a long way to play, but who's got the biggest smile on their face?
I mean, Labour are salivating. You can see them drooling at the prospect of those 20 seats, can't you?
Not that they want to be seen to be smiling, but they thought their moment could come around now, but they didn't expect their moment to be as brightly lit as this one.
Exactly. I mean, any route back to number 10 for Labour has to go through Scotland, has to go through that belt round Glasgow and up to Edinburgh, and they just can't believe their luck. People say that Keir Starmer in some ways is a lucky general, and this is the biggest example of it.
Rachel, what about the Tories' perspective on all of this? And we've discussed last week Douglas Ross, the Tory leader, who dropped the clangor of talking about tactical voting, Labour and Tories uniting to get out the SNP, much to the fury of Tory colleagues down at headquarters in London. What's the Tory line of thinking on this?
Well, it wasn't that long ago. It feels like ancient history now, but it wasn't that long ago when it was the Tory unionists up in Scotland who looked like they sort of were the main opposing force. People like Ruth Davidson, who is now a Times Radio host. There is a kind of sense among Scots who really do want to stay part of the union, who hate the fact that the SNP have been in power for so long. So maybe there is something in that. In terms of who wins from this, Kate's absolutely right, though, that it is Labour. I imagine also Kate Forbes is probably feeling kind of smug at the moment. You had Ash Reagan earlier today, who was the third candidate who ran, suggesting that she had some sympathy with the idea that the leadership race should be rerun, given all of the issues that are now coming out, and the fact that Yousaf was very much the continuity candidate. I would say for that wing of the party, let the Sturgeon legacy implode, and then be around to pick it up afterwards if that's indeed what you want to do.
Yeah, with the wounds that were inflicted by that leadership contest for for Nicola Sturgeon's job, the scabs have been torn off brutally. If you can bear that imagery, if you're not too squeamish with that sort of awful sanguine picture.